You're declaring that you are making a plan to be wealthy, and here it is. It's my budget. But instead of paying cash out of your bank account for said items, you put them on a rewards credit card, particularly one that is giving you rewards for signing up or spending a certain amount of money with them. And instead of letting that charge sit on your balance month to month and racking up interest charges, you pay off that balance immediately using the savings you just built up. That is an awesome way to budget, live below your means, and get the things you want and need, and keep an awesome credit score. Tips for saving money like a millionaire. Times like these, when the stock markets are volatile and banks are failing, crypto tokens are depegging from their currencies. Well, these times can cause even the most financially savvy individual to wonder what it takes to get to the next level. Everyone wants to improve their personal finances, and a lot of people think that they need a very sophisticated trading strategy, or better connections, personal contacts, or a better than average performing YouTube channel to be better off financially. Well, I've got good news for you. You don't have to be a millionaire to save like one. And the even better news is, if you save like one, you actually can become one. And the even better news is that you don't need a high-performing YouTube channel to be one either. Trust me, I know. I'll go over some tips on exactly how you can save like a millionaire, including one that everyone overlooks, which just so happens to be the most important one. So let's dive right in. When most people think of millionaires, they imagine social media personalities, sports, movie, or media superstars, or even people who win the lottery. Now, all those people can be millionaires, but you'd be surprised to learn just how bad with money most people are, including people with high incomes. That's definitely a video for a different time, but the stories of lottery winners or sports stars who earn more money in a few months than most people earn in their lifetimes, who then go on to lose that money in spectacular and oftentimes hilarious fashion. But they're too large to number. The thing about money is that, like a lot of things in life, you need to learn how to master it. And that takes time and effort. You'd be surprised, but just getting a large wad of cash in a short amount of time, that's not going to improve your ability to handle money. In fact, it might exacerbate some bad habits that you've already formed and maybe even amplify them. So the thing is not to necessarily look for a huge paycheck. If you want to be better off financially, large paydays, they certainly can help, and definitely don't turn them away, but only if you have a solid foundation of financial habits. And these same financial habits are what you need to be a good saver and to be able to save like a millionaire. For example, keeping it simple. Now, a lot of these videos start off with really obvious advice, and this one is no different. Why? Because a lot of people think that making money and becoming wealthy is extremely complex. That you need to have an advanced college degree, or study STEM, or be an athlete, or win the lottery, or something like that. All those things, well, they can help, but they're not the cause. You can really break down wealth creation, and more importantly, wealth maintenance, into 3 dead stupid steps. Step 1, earn more money than you spend. Step 2, save the difference. Step 3, repeat. It really is as simple as that. Each of those steps can be broken down further as well, but keeping that large picture in mind is important for meeting larger goals. Another important thing to keep in mind is that the complexity of your financial plans should only be as great as the complexity of your goals. If you're a day trader, and that's how you make your money, you need to have an extremely complex multi-year plan that depends on a very sophisticated day-to-day plan. But if that's not your skill set, or your aptitude, or your interest, then you don't need that level of complexity in your life. So just keep it simple. And among the simplest things that you can do is create a budget. This one is so important. I try and keep it up at the top of any discussion I have on wealth creation. That's because creating a budget is an exercise in intentionality. In other words, you're declaring that you are making a plan to be wealthy, and here it is. It's my budget. Now, there are a variety of types of budgets, all with their own merits and their own methods to their madness. Another topic for another video. But if you are following tip number 1 and only being as complex as you need to be, then just simply list out all your expenses and all your wants, and declare that you will only spend money on those things. And I mean really list them out, on a piece of paper, in a text file on your computer, in a note to your email, even in a text or a tweet to yourself, but write it down somewhere. And when you write it down, that is the declaration, the contract that you make with yourself and others, if you want to, about your intentions to be wealthier than you were yesterday. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't ever change your budget when things around you change. We're in the midst of financial upheaval happening every day. From failing banks to underperforming stocks, as well as crypto to AI revolutionizing the way we do our work. So your budget will necessarily change as well. But don't run from it, embrace it. Just remember to keep your true north aligned and don't lose sight of your goal, and write down somewhere what you intend to do. Now, there are a ton of apps out there that help you to automate the task of budgeting. And in fact, AI is starting to creep into that space as well. Another topic for another video, but for now, this is about keeping it simple and taking the simple steps on how to save like a millionaire. Speaking of simple steps, live below your means. Budgeting your money is a great way to help meet the first of the steps you need for wealth creation. The next one is living below your means. I listed budgeting before living below your means because it really is hard to live below your means if you don't know you are spending more than you're making. And almost no one can declare that they will spend more than they make because for most people that's just really hard to do. But you can do it if you get yourself into a debt spiral. How does one get themselves into a debt spiral, you may ask? Well, one uses credit cards that they may or may not have to purchase things that they may or may not need. That's a common way for a lot of people to get into financial trouble, where they spend more than they make, which is why it's critical that you budget. So you know what your regular expenses are, and you know what your wants are, and you set aside money for each. There are a million unique strategies for how to pull that off, by the way. And I can go on and on about the various types of ways to do it. But one of my favorites is to use any credit card that you have to pay your monthly needs so that you build up your credit. For example, using a cashback credit card or a rewards card to pay for your gasoline or your electric vehicle charges, your food and your utilities. You know, those charges that will happen every month. And presumably, you've set aside money to pay for them every month. So simply pay for them with a credit card and then pay your credit card bill on time every month. When you do that, you're building your credit and getting all your expenses paid on time and within your budget. But the magic happens when you save up money for your wants. You know, maybe you're looking to have a vacation or purchase a new laptop, or you just want to splurge on something big. Well, that's when you budget some savings specifically for those items. But instead of paying cash out of your bank account for said items, you put them on a rewards credit card, particularly one that is giving you rewards for signing up or spending a certain amount of money with them. And instead of letting that charge sit on your balance month to month and racking up interest charges, you pay off that balance immediately using the savings you just built up. That is an awesome way to budget. Live below your means and get the things you want and need, and keep an awesome credit score. That said, doing that requires you to have the discipline and the skill to save, which coincidentally is the next tip. Maximizing your savings. Saving money is really an exercise in discipline, but it also can be a little bit of a skill game as well. What do I mean? Well, for example, simply not spending money in your checking account and letting that grow over time is a form of saving. And if you can do that, you're on the right track. But saving money in your savings account is actually one of the poorest performing saving methods. It's almost as bad as stuffing money in your mattress or burrowing it in your backyard. Sure, you'll still have it after a while, but it will have lost value because it's not keeping up with the rate of inflation. You know, everybody's favorite economic phenomenon. So be smart and put your money to work for you. Now, depending on what you are saving for and when you'll need access to your money, there are a number of types of savings accounts that you can use. High yield savings accounts? Well, they're all the rage here on YouTube, as they should be, with interest rates going higher and higher. The one good thing is that the banks are now competing with each other to give you good rates on high yield savings. There are also money market accounts. Money market accounts historically have paid better interest than savings accounts, but the low interest rate environment of the last couple of years or so helped to buck that trend. That said, with the Federal Reserve raising interest rates consistently over the last year or so, that trend should go in the opposite direction. And there is, of course, CDs as well. CDs, or certificates of deposit, for those of you not in the know, are typically for the use case where you will not need your money for a significant period of time. A certificate of deposit is a product that earns interest on a chunk of cash for a set period of time. CDs differ from savings accounts because the money must remain untouched for the entirety of their term or risk penalties, fees, or just lost interest. The upside is that CDs usually have higher interest rates than savings accounts as an incentive for lost liquidity. That said, if you don't need the money for a long period of time, then CDs could be just the thing to help you save that cash for a period of time that you need to then pay off your credit card without having to carry a balance month to month. Tip number 4, cut back on unnecessary expenses. Saving like a millionaire is also thinking like a millionaire. And millionaires, a lot of them come from money, but most of them become millionaires by just being smart with their money. And that entails cutting back on unnecessary expenses. Cutting back on unnecessary expenses, it doesn't have to be thought of as simply getting rid of stuff that you don't want or you don't need, or penny pinching, or any of the negativity that comes along with that. It's more about prioritizing what you should be spending your money on, both wants and needs. All people and businesses of all income levels need to prioritize what they are going to spend when they're going to spend it. And in addition to that, what they need to move back into their spending queue. A key point that you need to take away from this is that you don't have to think about cutting back on expenses as eliminating expenses. It's more about not spending on everything you want right now, delaying that gratification, if you will, and prioritizing what you need to spend your money on, and move some of your wants into the background until such a time as you can afford to spend that money. Or maybe, by the time you get that money, your priorities will have changed and you want to spend it on something else that's more important to you at that time. And this takes us to the most important discussion point about how to save like a millionaire: practicing patience and delayed gratification. You see, the most important point about saving and growing your wealth is practicing patience and delayed, not eliminated, gratification. The exercise of prioritizing is similar to the exercise of budgeting. You are declaring what is most important to you. You're not saying you don't care about other things or you don't want to purchase other things that are maybe extraneous. You're saying that you will purchase them later according to the parameters of your budget. Keeping your budget in mind allows you to understand what things you can spend today, what things you can spend tomorrow. And if something's more important to you than something else, then you simply pay for it first and then wait. And eventually your budget will be freed up to have the space to pay for things that are not as highly prioritized at this point in time. Bonus tip: invest in yourself. Investing in yourself is key to saving like a millionaire. Why, you may ask? I'm already pretty awesome just the way I am. I agree. It would be great if I were even awesomer. You know what I mean. Investing in yourself can yield positive returns in a number of ways. The one way that it could affect your ability to save is by increasing your income. Increasing your income is a fantastic way to save more money, particularly if you don't increase your spending along that income increase. That's a whole separate video for a separate time. Make sure you're subscribed to check that one out when it drops. But there are a number of ways to invest in yourself: attending a conference on something that interests you, and meeting up with like-minded people and getting contacts and possibly customers or even employers or even employees. You could purchase a class or a course that is in an area of interest that you're looking to advance in. But whatever it is, when you increase your knowledge and your skills, oftentimes a nice side effect of that is increasing your income overall. And then there is, of course, literally investing in yourself. What I mean by that is specifically taking a percentage of your budget and putting that money directly into an account of some kind. Whether it's a high-yield savings account, CD, or even purchasing or increasing your investments in an index fund or ETF. That is literally investing in the future you and making sure that that dude or dudette has the cash to fund their lavish lifestyle. So saving like a millionaire doesn't have to begin when you become a millionaire. As a matter of fact, if you start saving like a millionaire when you're not a millionaire, you increase your chances of getting to that level and beyond. Maybe the 3 comma club. Who knows? Especially with this inflation. Now, if you want to know more about the types of accounts you need to consider before you invest a dime, take a look at this video on the screen right now. And remember, a goal without a plan is a wish, and a goal with a plan and no action is a wish list. Like, subscribe, click the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.